From Peter to Pope Leo XIV, the Holy See of verdict is in. For 2,000 years, the papacy has shaped empires, sparked revolutions, and steered the faithful. But today, the voice of Rome carries a new accent. It's American, and first of his kind. From the shores of Galilee to the halls of the Vatican, this is the story of power, faith, and scandal. This is People's Court TV. We bring the papacy to the witness stand in today, and no legacy is above the law. It all began with a calling beside the waters, when Jesus of Nazareth turned to Simon Peter and said, "Feed my sheep." From that divine charge, the papacy was born, not in a palace, but in the humble stead of a fisherman. Peter, one of the 12 apostles of Jesus, became who was well known to have betrayed Jesus 3 times, was more than a disciple. He became a guardian of faith without a written charter. His authority passed from lips to hearts across generations. Jesus was also referring to Peter when he declared, "On this rock I will build my church." From then onward, a line of successors emerged. That touch of succession is the most powerful in the history of mankind, as it is yet to be broken from Simon Peter to the person we now know as Pope Leo XIV. But this game of musical thrones was not an easy journey. The early church was plagued with trials both external and internal: martyrdom, heresy, schism, and all the other words that we can hardly pronounce, let alone understand. Yet, the Holy See endured. Through centuries, the papacy saw saints and sinners alike. The infamy will shock you. Pope Alexander VI bore children while seated on the throne of Peter. As one of the most controversial of the Renaissance popes, Pope Alexander had many mistresses and sustained a lengthy relationship out of wedlock with a wealthy Italian called Vanuzza dei Catanei. He acknowledged fathering several children by his mistresses, and his Valencian surname became a byword for nepotism as his children went on to hold prominent positions in church. Pope John XII drew scandal into the sacred halls. And myths, like that of Pope Joan, persist as whispers from the margins. Other infamous popes included Stephen VI. Stephen VI is infamous for the Cadaver Synod, where he exhumed the body of his predecessor, Pope Formosus, and put it on trial. Sergius III. Pope Sergius III's papacy was marred by accusations of murder and a scandalous period known as the pornocracy. Sergius was not content with just murdering the previous incumbent, Antipope Christopher. An antipope was a false claimant to the papacy, but also Christopher's predecessor, Leo XIV. Sergius also conducted a long affair with his 15-year-old mistress, a Roman girl called Marozia, and their romance resulted in an illegitimate son. The boy later became Pope John V, and, despite contemporary disdain for children born out of wedlock, Benedict IX holds the dubious honor of being the only man ever to have sold the papacy, while Pope Victor III is thought to have been the first homosexual pope, even though he briefly abdicated the papacy to marry his own cousin Sao. Other popes, however, left some incredible legacies like that Roman Catholics are proud of. Pope Leo the Great, who defended Orthodox Christian teaching against heresies and asserted papal authority. He also convinced Attila the Hun not to attack Rome. He was later canonized a saint, and he reigned from 461 AD. In particular, Leo fought against the heresy of Eutyches, who, like Nestorius, denied the hypostatic union. Pope Gregory the Great reformed the Church's liturgy and administration, expanded its missionary work, and contributed to the development of Gregorian chant. After his parents died, Gregory became very wealthy, inheriting his parents' estate in Rome and 6 Sicilian estates. But in 574, he entered religious life. Gregory became a Benedictine and turned his parents' home into a monastery, naming it St. Andrew's. His papacy was notable for his removal of unworthy bishops and priests from office. He protected the Jews from persecution. He took as his official title, Servant of the Servants of God, the official title of the Pope to this day. Pope Nicholas the Great is the last of the greats upon Pope Benedict's death. Nicholas was elected pope on April 22, 858. He soon became known for his charity and justice. For instance, he denounced the King of Lorraine for attempting to divorce his legitimate wife to marry his mistress. Not only did Benedict depose the archbishops of Cologne and Trier, who permitted the invalid marriage, but he withstood the pressures of the king's father, Emperor Louis II, to acquiesce. Pope Innocent III asserted papal supremacy over secular rulers and played a significant role in European politics and the Fourth Crusade. The pope most of us have known best is John Paul II. Pope John Paul II was known for his role in the fall of communism, his extensive travels, and his outreach to other religions. John Paul reigned for more than 26 years, the third longest pontificate. He issued the Catechism of the Catholic Church, the revised Code of Canon Law, and the revised Code of Canons of the Eastern Churches. He notably forgave the assassin that nearly killed him. Since the death of our beloved Pope John Paul II on April 2, 2005, many have been hailing him as John Paul the Great. Only 3 popes so far have had the Great appended to their names. Time will tell whether the Great will be appended to John Paul II's name. But in the hearts of millions of the faithful, he will always be considered great. The death of a pope marks the beginning of a series of events that lead to the eventual start of a conclave and election of a new successor. Death in the papacy unfolds in solemn choreography. The Camerlengo speaks the Pope's name 3 times. No answer. The ring is broken. The see falls vacant. The church enters mourning, a 9-day mourning period known as Novem Diales. In the shadow of Michelangelo's ceiling, 120 cardinal electors of 80 years and under gather. Of the 252 cardinals in the Catholic Church, only 133 were allowed into the coveted conclave on May 7, 2025. Their task? To hear the will of the Holy Spirit through each cast ballot. The word conclave comes from Latin, meaning with key, referring to the practice of locking the cardinals away to ensure a secluded and focused election process. The cardinals are barred from leaving or making contact with the outside world. A 2/3 majority is needed to win the papacy, if you can call this winning. When black smoke is released from the chimney atop the Sistine Chapel at the end of the day, it indicates that a new pope has not been selected. White smoke, on the other hand, signals that a new pope has emerged. Silence envelops the process. Pope Francis was a shepherd with dust on his shoes. He spoke for the poor, challenged the powerful, and sought unity in division. His passing on Easter Monday echoed across continents. He was an Argentine reformer who advocated for migrants and the environment. After the death of beloved Pope Francis on Easter Monday, few foresaw Robert Francis Prevost ascending, an American cardinals rarely mentioned. But when the white smoke rose on May 6, 2025, it carried the promise of unexpected change. Born in Chicago, rooted in humility, Prevost spent years in Peru as a missionary. He became a bishop, then prefect, known for listening before speaking. In choosing the name Leo XIV in honor of Leo the Great or Leo Thirst, he evoked strength and service. The newly installed Leo XIV greeted the city of Rome and the world in his first address on May 8, 2025. This was his first appearance as the successor of St. Peter from the central loggia of St. Peter's Basilica. His first papal address was delivered in Italian, which was appropriate. He addressed a crowd of over 30,000 people who gathered in St. Peter's Square. The crowd had been growing long before the white smoke came out of the Sistine Chapel chimney, as is custom. The day before had yielded no decided candidate, which led to the crowd witnessing a black smoke late at 9 p.m. on Wednesday, May 7th, which signaled that a pope had not emerged. Luckily, the crown did not have too long to wait as they got a pope selection by the second day of voting. The world watches. What does an American pontiff mean for the global church, for diplomacy, for doctrine? Will Leo XIV be a bridge between traditions and transformation? Fellow people, as the gavel of history ushers a new leadership in the Vatican, we stand with Pope Leo XIV as he steps into the role not just as a man, but as a message of hope, unity, justice, and faith. The mandate from people is that he never allows politics to derail his responsibility to the faithful and the weak. As always, this is Chomsy. Please go to the comments and tell us whether this new papacy means anything to you. Share your favorite pope so far, and like the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to join us as we explore the crossroads of belief, fairness, power, justice, and the weak.